Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. I'm glad you're here. The Autistic Cat, hello. First one in, Zach, hi there. That hot librarian, Tina, good to see you. You all are jumped in right on time. Well done. Somebody do me a favor and confirm that you can hear me okay and such. Good to see you all. I know it takes a minute usually for the comments to start hitting, but so I've got two snakes out right now. I didn't plan to have the super dwarves out, but their enclosures are both right here, and whenever I'm working right here, that means that I'm feeding, and to them at least, and so they both just got into crazy food mode, and I figured if I pull them out and put them on the tree, they can hunt on the tree and realize that I'm not going to feed them. So let's hope they do that, and they don't try to get to the ground like they were trying to do this morning. So I've got, look at this, you guys. So this is, it's two of these. So this is a single thing started, like this is the top of it. It's a little ring, and then it's two. I don't know what it's used for. I don't know, do you put fruit on it, whatever? Anyway, $3 at Target, and I have two of them attached with a carabiner. And I've got one snake that you can't even see curled up right there, and then Echo. So Stella's curled up right in there, and she's totally happy there. Echo is curled up in this one with her head out. Great little platforms. So I talked about changing that ladder a while back in a video, that ladder needs to be changed. But what I've been doing is finding stuff that I can hang from the ceiling right in front of the ladder that's different. So that always changes. It's a net or a series of ropes, or it's this thing or whatever, and it works really well. They can climb onto the ladder or climb onto whatever happens to be hanging right in front of the ladder. It's pretty cool. Okay. The Autistic Cat. Who wants to see Bob get bitten live, right? That is what happened in the live stream for the Patreon supporters, for the Horde of Keepers. Echo bit me, and she might tonight. She is wanting food, but she just ate the other day, so she's not getting any. Oh, the swans. That's really nice. Thanks so much. Just recently found your videos. You're my favorite YouTuber now. That's so nice. I really appreciate that. I'm glad that you're enjoying those videos. That's great. Wait, hang on. There we go. I'm trying to get better at showing a comment and then bringing it off the screen, so I don't sit there for an hour with a comment on the screen. Lori's in. Hi, Lori. Alexandria. Ben Wall. Oh, really? Is that true? Sorry, Bren Wall. Is that true? You guys tell me if you hear the scratch. I'm pretty sure that I have my regular... Maybe the mic just needs to be closer. Bren is saying that it sounds like the audio is being picked up from the camera. Tell me if that... Did you guys hear that? Could you hear that scratch? Can you hear that? That's how we're testing the audio. There's got to be a way that I can... Hang on. Let me look at my settings really quick. Audio. Yeah, it's on the mic. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is the AC, Bren. It's if I don't have the AC on right now, I'm gonna be so hot. I'm wearing the same hat that I wore last time, and I try not to do that. And the reason is that this hat has holes in it, and it'll keep my head cool. It's really hot in here. So apologies for the air conditioning and fan noise. Skeptic knowledge. Kent is not here. He will be one of these days, but he's not. He definitely doesn't do Kent's Corner during a live stream. But you know, when I first started doing live streams, we had a couple of appearances from Kent, and and then we haven't been doing it. So we'll do it one of these days. Hi, Amy. Glad you're in here. You guys, I spent last week. Amy and I spent almost the entire week at a Renaissance festival in Utah, where she lives, and she's a fantastic belly dancer and a good friend of mine that I get to see every year when I do that festival. I'm glad you're here, Amy. Let's see. We're gonna get to stuff in a minute. All right, let's get to first of all, the Scotch that I'm drinking right now is Monkey Shoulder, which I think I've had this before on here. The Monkey Shoulder is just a blended Scotch that's very good, and you can get it at just about any store. Unless you live in Utah, then you have to go to it's like going to the DMV to get alcohol in Utah. But anyway, the point is that if you live in California or a store where, a state where you can get liquor in grocery stores, you can probably find Monkey Shoulder, and it's pretty good. So that's kind of my go-to when I don't want a real peaty Scotch. And that probably concludes the Scotch portion of Snakes and Scotch. The Scotch portion is always much lighter than the Snakes portion. So today we're going to talk about... Hi. Today we are going to talk about... I put on the thumbnail, I put too many snakes. And that wasn't so much that I have too many snakes or that maybe you have too many snakes, although maybe you do. It had to do with, do we have a saturation of specifically ball pythons? Are we breeding too many? So we're going to get into that a little bit. I asked the Horde of Keepers over on Patreon to, as I always do, to help out with some questions and topics. And this week, they always come through with a bunch of stuff, but this week, they, for some reason, came through with really big topics that, as I was reading through them, I was like, oh, I could do a whole produced video on this, and here's another one I could do a whole produced video on. So we're going to get into some of these big topics because I asked for it, and they're really good things to discuss. But I'm going to kind of do quick hits on them because I do actually plan to take this list of topics and sort of produce some videos. And then, obviously, I will answer whatever questions are on here that I see. If you really want me to see a question, super chat it, and I will most likely see it. And I say most likely because I have been known to miss a super chat. I know that Sprinkles last time did like 20 super chats, and one of them I missed. I went back and watched, and I was like, I missed that super chat. But anyway, I usually see them. Phil Morris, what a great sentiment that is. Scotchy, scotch down into my belly. Yes. Agreed. I agree with that sentiment. You know what, Grave Family Snakes? I was looking for Lafroig, and I'm out of it. And I almost went to the store, but I didn't have time. I need to get some Lafroig. All right, so let's hang on. I'm gonna answer. There we go. I'm going to answer a couple questions real quick, and then we'll get into the Horde of Keepers questions. Golden Fiddle says, I have a bioactive question. I'm afraid of mold and mildew in my snake's enclosure. Yeah, mold and mildew would be bad. Will the springtails and isopods help with that? Yes. That is the point of the springtails and isopods. Specifically, the springtails are the ones that help keep down the mold and mildew. I've had this bioactive vivarium going for 2 years now. Over 2 years, maybe. And have never changed the substrate. I've only added to it. I've never had mold or mildew problems, and I have springtails and dwarf white isopods in there. They do really well. They do not, I've said this before, they do not spot clean your enclosure for you. It's not a situation. People say that they'll eat the poop and they'll eat the shed and everything. No, they won't. I mean, they'll eat some of it, but you'll hardly notice. So you've got to still spot clean and take out the stuff. But they take care of any mildew or mold. I've never had a mildew or mold problem. in that enclosure. Lori's saying Echo's trying to get onto my hat. She probably was, and she probably gave up. I missed it. Dang. I'm always way behind on these comments. The Swans are asking, where's the best place you would recommend getting a baby ball python? Check Morph Market, just because you're going to get the best deal there. A lot of people that haven't had reptiles shipped to them are a little nervous about just ordering a snake, just looking at a snake online and contacting a breeder and ordering it. But I recommend you do that. You'll get a much better deal. Make sure that you talk to the breeder. Make sure that it's a breeder that is known and has a reputation that you can trust, and then order your snake and go pick it up at the FedEx hub. It works well. That hot librarian, Tracy, thank you so much for the Scotch Fund. Tracy, with the first super chat, she always sends me $5 for the Scotch Fund. She keeps me in drink. That's really nice. Thanks, Tracy. Oh, by the way, you guys, happy birthday to that hot librarian. I think last week was her birth week. I don't know which day it was, but I believe it was last week. So everybody say happy birthday to that hot librarian. Lori is saying, this one's from Bob, as far as the best place to get a ball python. It's really not, though, because my ball python availability is very low and is currently nothing right now. So I'm a terrible place to get a baby ball python. If you get me at the right time and I have a snake available that you enjoy the morph and the price and such like that, then yes, I'd be great to get a ball python from. But in general, I'm a terrible person to buy ball python from because I just usually don't have any for sale. Okay, I'm gonna get to you guys. I hate missing comments, and I'm just going to. I'm gonna have to miss comments, Lori. Except I'm not gonna miss Lori's super chat. Lori, that's so sweet from Marie. What a lovely super chat. I really appreciate that. Marie is Lori's snake that hatched right here at the Green Room Pythons facility, better known as my living room. And Marie is one of my favorite snakes ever. She was a delightful snake to raise for a few months. I don't know how old she was when I shipped her off to you, Lori. Maybe you remember, but man, what a cool little hatchling she was, and still is. She crawls right out onto your hand. I don't think she ever took any work to socialize. She just came out of the egg and was like, oh, a human hand? Sure, I'm not afraid of that. Which is great. Super fun. So I did nothing special. That was just a snake that turned out awesome right out of the gate. Kate's Reptiles is asking a great question that I'm going to answer. And then first of all, great family snakes. This question I am going to do a video on. I don't know when, but fairly soon. So we're gonna talk about that. That's a really big topic, though, and I have a bunch of other big topics. So I'm going to wait to answer that one. Kate's Reptiles, are ball pythons good for a teenager? So I have a video that I did probably over a year ago that is something like reasons why you should not buy a ball python. And one of them, first of all, I'll just give a blanket answer. Yes, absolutely. Ball pythons are great for a teenager. But ball pythons live 25, 30, 40, sometimes plus years. So if you buy a ball python for your teenager, you're buying an animal that your teenager can take care of for a few years until they go off to college, and then it's your animal. So you've got to know that you're buying yourself a snake that hopefully will be with you for the life of the animal. We're going to talk about when you have to rehome and stuff like that, because that's one of these questions here too. But I can't imagine that a teenager. I don't know anybody. And put it in the comments if you're a person who bought a snake as a teenager and kept that snake with you all the way into your adulthood and their adulthood and through the course of that snake's life. I don't know anybody that's happened to. Usually what happens is they go off to college and they put the snake on Craigslist and sell it to somebody that doesn't know how to take care of it or whatever. You know, if they're in Florida, they let it go, unfortunately. So anyway, now I'm going to get to these questions. So Tina, who's on right now, so, all right. So Tina is saying, this is actually a really big, deep one that we'll talk about for a minute. She's saying, with COVID, many people are going through various stages of grief and loss, depression, anxiety. My husband recently passed away, leaving me with a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old. We recently got our first reptile, a small male ball python. We adopted him from the Snake Discovery Facility. Very cool. I heard they're great for grief and anxiety. You say that they're the monks of the reptile world. Yes, I do. I believe that. And just their presence can bring calm. I can attest to this. He's been super chill, and that makes me super chill too. The kids are getting the same benefits as well. I wonder how many people have experienced these same benefits, especially now when it feels like everyone's mental health has been slammed over and over. Yeah. When Tina posted that, everybody in the Horde of Keepers jumped in with our sympathies and such like that. What an awful thing to go through. Hang on, let me see if I can I block user for those spam ones? Oh, I can. I'll try to stay on those trolls. You guys will try to look up at the comments occasionally and try to block those trolls when they come up. So anyway, my sympathies to Tina. What a terrible thing to go through. And yes, I mean, I've always said that ball pythons, I think, are the monks of the animal world because they are so calm and patient and slow moving, and you know, they will wait for days. I mean, many snakes will do this, wait for days on end for a meal, but just the calming presence that they have. They don't have a calming presence though if you're scared of snakes. So for people that are scared of snakes, they're probably a terrible choice for an animal that can help with mental health and such like that. But for people that are not scared, and Tina, it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you weren't super familiar with snakes. You just heard that it might be helpful, so you got one, which I think is really cool. And it sounds like it's working. They're just a really calming presence, you know, to have a snake slowly moving around you and having a relationship with an animal that you think of as a wild animal that you would just see in the jungle or in the forest or something is cool. And it's also very meditative. If you can, you know, most people when they're handling their snake are focused on the snake. Now, sometimes I'll grab a snake and watch YouTube videos or something like that with a snake in my lap. But if I'm focused on the snake, then I'm focused on the snake. And it's kind of a meditation to be able to do that. And meditation is really important for mental health. So sometimes you can get into a meditation without even trying, without even knowing that you're in it. So, what do you guys think? Put it in the chat, and you guys can have a chat about that. So now let's talk about the next question is what I did the thumbnail on. I'm curious about your thoughts about what it means to be an ethical breeder. You did a live stream about being a good keeper. Is there a ball python overpopulation problem? Seems like there are so many people breeding these days, and Morph Market is like a candy store. Do people who get 7 snakes in 6 months really keep and care for those animals their entire lifespan? There's some other stuff there. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not going to read word for word in a lot of these suggestions. What steps did you take to know you were ready to try breeding, and what steps do you take to ensure your babies go to good homes? So let me address a few of those things. The thing is, with ball pythons, I'm not breeding a ton of them. I only have a few, and I will say this also, you guys. When I set up this Green Room Pythons channel, I kind of thought that a big part of the channel would be my journey into breeding, but I realized real quickly that I did not want people to think of me as an authority on breeding, because I just don't have the experience, and I don't think that it's good for people to get right into breeding and then start a YouTube channel or start a blog or a Facebook page to teach people how to breed. I think you need to have a lot of experience, and I don't have a lot of experience. So I'll say that, and then I'll talk about my thoughts on breeding, okay? Last year, just so you know, last year was my first season breeding snakes. This is my second season breeding snakes. I am, I think, well researched, but not super experienced. So I don't want to come across as somebody who has any business telling you how to breed snakes. Okay. So that being said, I don't believe that there's an overpopulation of ball pythons right now. I think there could be, but the only reason that I say that is that I don't know how many ball pythons are on Morph Market right now, but thousands. If you go to Morph Market, I kind of want to check right now. There are thousands of ball pythons on Morph Market, and all of them will sell. Actually, I'll tell you which ones actually may not sell. But that's right. Morph Market changed how they kind of changed their thing. I don't know. I'm not going to spend the time to try to figure out their new. They changed their interface thing, and I haven't really learned it yet. You guys, we've got a snake sitting right here so nicely, and one right up here. They're just sitting in their little trays, their little hanging trays. It's great. That being said, why don't I? Let's see if I have somebody here that's available. Oh, hi Molly. She's even awake. Let's just grab Molly because she's easy to grab. And then I'll talk about that question again. So on Morph Market, there are thousands of ball pythons. They will all sell. Even though I'm not a big fan of pet stores, and I'm definitely not a big fan of people selling normals on pet stores. We'll talk about why in a second, or at pet stores. Those snakes will all sell. You know, you've got a couple of breeders that breed these snakes, tons of snakes, and sell them to the big box stores. Those all sell. They're just a very popular animal. That being said, one of the reasons I started this channel is because I think that most people that just grab a snake at a store don't know how to care for that animal, and its likelihood of survival past a few years is lower than it should be. So hopefully people sort of learn a little bit more about these animals before they buy them, and understand what they're getting into. This is Molly Malone, by the way, for those of you who don't know Molly. She is a Ultramel Het Pied 66% Het Hypo, and she's a lovely snake. So right now, I don't think that there's an overpopulation of ball pythons because they all sell. Yeah, there's a ton of them for sale, but they just keep selling and just keep turning over, and more come up for sale, and then more get sold. So there's that. Let me look at the other. Morph Market is like a candy store. The people that do not do well selling snakes on Morph Market are the ones who are like, I've got a normal and I have a Mojave, and I just found out that my normal's a girl and the Mojave's a boy, so I'm going to breed them. And they end up with 50% Mojaves and 50% normals, both of which are very low end as far as they're not desirable for breeders. So they try to put their clutch on Morph Market, and sell their snakes for $50 or 75 or whatever, and they just don't sell. And they're like, oh my gosh, why are my snakes not selling? They're so cheap, they should be selling. But most people that are buying off Morph Market are looking to breed snakes, and they want snakes that genetically are more desirable than the very low end ones. So I've seen people complain, jump on a Facebook group or something and go, my snake's been, I put my snake on Morph Market and it's been sitting there for months and it hasn't sold. And somebody asks, well, what is it? Where's the link? And they link to it, and it's a pastel. And a pastel would sell at PetSmart. PetSmart would put a pastel for $250 and somebody would go in there and buy it. But when it's on Morph Market for $50, nobody's looking for that. So as long as the snake is genetically pretty cool, it's going to sell on Morph Market. So there's that. Yeah, people who get 7 snakes in 6 months, do they really keep and care for those animals their entire lifespan? Hopefully, but I'll say this: there is a lot of turnover. You know, you hear people like, "Oh, I'm totally getting out of the hobby, and so I'm selling my entire collection." That does happen a lot, but you know, snakes are not like dogs; they don't form bonds with their owners. I know that some people will argue that and go, "I think they do because I think my snake is bonded with me," and I understand that. But the fact is that snakes are not social creatures, and so they really don't form bonds. So you can have a snake. It's not ideal to do, but you can have a snake that goes from breeder to breeder to breeder. But it's not ideal because, you know, shipping it is not cool, and getting them set up in a whole new home is not cool. But I guess my point is that it's not like a dog that's going to miss their owner and have, you know, mental anguish over the fact that they're not with their previous owner that they're bonded to. So there is that. I do encourage people, though, that buy a snake to plan to keep that snake for its entire life. What I don't think is cool is when somebody has, it's usually when somebody has like a snake, a normal, let's say, ball python, and they decide that they don't want to take care of that snake anymore, so they just throw it up on Craigslist, and then some kid comes over on a bike and throws the snake in its backpack and rides home and has no idea how to care for it, and that snake is probably not going to live very long. That's very unfortunate. Let's see, what steps do you take to know you were ready to try breeding? You know, for me, I'm a big researcher, and so once I feel like I can talk about a subject and tell other people about a subject, I feel like I'm ready to do something. And with breeding, I just did enough research to where I really felt like this is something I can do. You know, it's breeding ball pythons is not a hard thing, but you have to know how to do it. You know, like as long as you know how to do it, it's the work of doing it and getting them to breed is not hard at all. There's many other species of snake that are much harder to get to breed than ball pythons. But you got to know what you're doing. It's just like, you know, what I've always said. Didn't I block this person? Hang on. I say person, but let's say it's a bot. Didn't I block that bot? You know, when you just have a ball python that you care for, or a snake, or any exotic animal that you care for, you should be a expert in that animal. You should be a total expert, because it's not a dog or a cat that we all know how to care for, and if you have a question, you can ask your neighbor. You know, so you really should be an expert when you're caring for these animals, when you're breeding these animals, all that kind of stuff. And do you take any steps to ensure your babies go to a good home? Yes, I do, and that was the other big reason for starting this channel. Is I thought, you know, first of all, I'm going to be selling snakes for the most part that are higher end, higher dollar. I don't mean thousands and thousands high end, but at least higher end than your average high school kid is gonna pay for it. You know, they're not gonna pay $500 to $1,000 to $2,500 for a snake. So you're probably selling them to people who already know how to care for these animals. They're other breeders or hobbyists that really know what they're doing, because if you drop $1,000 on an animal, you're not going to just put it in a fish tank and not feed it enough, you know, or feed it too much or whatever. So that's one thing. And then the other thing was starting this YouTube channel. I thought, you know, if I can make sure that most of the snakes that I sell go to people who are watching the channel anyway. I have tons of videos on care of ball pythons and kind of how I do it, at least. And I talk about a lot that there are a number of ways to care for a ball python that are totally valid and work, but at least you can see how I do it. And that was one of the big reasons for starting the channel, to make sure that I'm selling to people that have access to videos that they can watch that'll talk about how to do it, or at least how I do it. So there's that. Tina jumped in. So that was Smiley P Snake who was asking that series of questions. Then Tina jumped in and was mentioning the spider gene, my thoughts on the spider gene. I think spider is great for a pet. I've never had a spider ball python, but this is a snake. For those of you who don't know, a spider is a genetic morph that looks really cool, but causes neurological problems in the snake that are either very mild, where you don't even notice anything, to pretty bad, where the snake corkscrews and stargazes, and sometimes it won't even eat. That's really rare, though. Most spiders, from what I understand, are fantastic eaters. So I don't have any problem with spiders as spider ball pythons as a pet. I don't choose to breed spider ball pythons because I don't want to have any clutch that might have babies with neurological problems. I don't want to have to deal with that occasional one that I have to cull because it's not going to be able to feed, or the one that maybe feeds, but it's got crazy stargazing or whatever. There's so many other morphs, in my opinion, that are still beautiful and great, that don't come with neurological problems. I have a number of spot nose ball pythons. I have Ron, and he produced a clutch last year, and I kept 2 of them, both of which are spot nose. And a super spot nose causes neurological problems too. So I'm going to be careful not to breed spot nose to spot nose, because I don't want to have. I think a lot of the time they come out fine. I think I might be wrong on that, but I think it's kind of like a crapshoot. They might come out fine. They might come out with neurological problems, but I don't want to have to deal with that. So I try to just breed stuff that has a good chance of not having the neurological problems. But again, as a pet, spider ball pythons are fantastic. They look really cool. They eat great. Sometimes their wobble will, you'll notice their wobble a lot more when they're excited to eat. And you can also tell when they're stressed, because if they normally don't have so much of a wobble, and then all of a sudden they start wobbling again, that's a sign of stress. So they kind of tell you when they're stressed about something. So let's see. Reptile and Amphibian World was talking about the saturated ball python market. Also, we just talked about that. Jenny's asking, maybe you can go into what you can do if you can't take care of or don't want your snake anymore. And we kind of talked about that. Don't put it on Craigslist. This is a problem with the normals. Is what ends up happening is normals go to what do you call them? The facilities that take in animals. The rescues. I couldn't think of the word rescue. Normals and just snakes that don't have a lot of monetary value end up on Craigslist. They end up at rescues. They end up getting let go, which is really unfortunate. I would say that if you have a snake that, if you've got a snake that's got some monetary value, they all have sentimental value, right? Because it's your animal. But we're talking about monetary value to somebody that doesn't have any sentimental attachment to it. If it's got some monetary value, if I wanted to sell Stella here, my Kalatoa, I could sell her for $2,500, maybe $3,000. She's a 100% Kalatoa super dwarf. She's got monetary value. I will never sell Stella. But that would be easy to do. Put her on Morph Market and find somebody that wants to take her. But if it's something that doesn't have monetary value, I would say try to find a friend, somebody that can, if somebody is watching my channel, they know how to care for snakes, and they at least did enough research to find the channel, so they can maybe find a friend or family member who's willing to take the snake and help them on their way to caring for it. That's what I would say. I would, if it were me, I would be trying everything that I could to not have to give it to a rescue. Not the rescues are bad; they're great, but they have enough to deal with. You know, they've got enough snakes. So there's that. Okay, Lori has a question here. So I'm going to finish this page. I have a page and a half of these. So we're finishing page 1. And then I'm going to get to some questions that are happening in the live chat. I'm going to miss a lot of them, you guys, because I've been talking for a long time. I apologize, but that's the plan. I'm going to answer Lori's question here. As you know, I have Marie and Darwin. So Marie came from me, and Darwin is another snake that sometimes eats and sometimes doesn't. I love to put them in the playpen. Oh, I know what this question is. I love to put them in the playpen, but the last time I did that, Marie did that tail wagging thing. At some point, you had mentioned that was or could be breeding behavior. I haven't put them together since because I don't want to breed. Yeah, or I don't want them to breed. Yeah, it could be breeding behavior, but I think at the age, Marie is almost a year old. And I don't think that that's breeding behavior for her. I think she's marking her territory. I have a few snakes that do that. I think I mentioned it maybe in my last produced video even. Oh, I did. Snake personalities. Lydia Dietz will do that. I thought it was breeding behavior when I first saw her do it. But now I realize that she does it even when other females are around. She marks her territory. Captain Farrell does it. I think I only have 2 snakes that do it. Regularly. So sometimes they just start tail wagging and peeing. So I think it's marking their territory. So there's that. Now let me check on my snakes. Do you guys want to see a snake? Should we? Does anybody have any requests for a snake that I should pull out? I'm gonna jump up the chat and see if I can answer a couple questions, and then I'll run down and see if anybody had any requests for specific snakes that they'd like me to pull out. Mitzi's asking, how long and often should you hold a new snake after getting one? If it's a hatchling, this is for hatchlings, I always tell people 10 to 15 minutes once a day. That's a very baseline sort of general rule. So I say that until you can get to know the snake and understand their body language a little bit and see if they can tolerate more than that. Many ball pythons can tolerate more than that. But if you've got a snake that is hiding a lot or very stiff and tense during that whole time that you're holding them, just do it for that amount of time. And then the other trick that I always talk about and I show in a number of videos and will continue to because it works really well is just open their enclosure, whether it's a tub or a tank or what. I mean, if it's a tank, you don't have to open it because they can see you. But the idea is that you sit there next to them without handling them, and just let them see you there. And then if they seem a little bit relaxed, show them your hand. And I don't mean shove your hand right in their face, but just have the hand there a little bit. They can read a heat signature from really far away. So even if you're 6, 8, 12 inches away, they absolutely know that something is there. They'll do some tongue flicking. And then don't do anything front, don't then go and pick them up. Just leave. Just have your hand there for a little while and then leave. And then you're done. And they have had a good experience. They got to experience you sitting there. They got to see your hand, and then nothing bad happened. And that's what you're looking for. So it's a good question. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to read. It seems like I'm reading all these, but I can't. So if I skip yours, I'm so sorry. I always look at these after, and I see so many great questions that I skipped that I didn't even see, and I'm really sorry. If people like the spider look, they should look for a pinstripe instead. Yeah, pinstripe is great. Or a super inchy. A lot of times super inchy has a spider look. Yeah. There's a lot of combos that kind of look spiderish. Okay, let's see if there's any. Okay, we got a couple of votes for Tiger Lily. It seems like I always have her out, but I'll bring her out. Lori, thanks for the super chat. Marie was 3 months old when you shipped her to me. We had to wait for better weather. That's right, we did. You're so sweet to super chat when you were answering my question that I had for you. So yeah, I had Marie for 3 months, and she was delightful. She's just a great snake. I really like her. Okay, we'll get Tiger Lily out. Let's see what's going on here. We got Echo creeping down. All right, Tiger Lily, who also looks very spiderish. Oh, she's starting to shed. She's gonna be in blue in a couple days. You might not be able to tell, but I can. Here is Tiger Lily. She's doing very well. All right, Echo's on the move again, so I have to sort of keep an eye on her as well. So we'll see how she wakes up. I probably won't have her out for too long because she's starting to shed, but it's good for her to come out and have a little exercise. But you see this, I mean, when she was climbing out of her egg, I should post that video again that I have of her climbing out of her egg. I saw her in the egg. I cut the egg and I saw her in there, and she was so crazy looking compared to the others. And then it took her 24 hours longer than all the others to come out. So I thought, oh, maybe she's got like some physical anomaly or something. And then when I saw her crawling out of the egg, I was like, do I have spider in, like, is it possible that mom or dad are spider? And then they're not, like, there's no possibility of that. But she did kind of look spider to me when she crawled out. The reptile verse. Have you thought about getting Angolan pythons? Yes, I have. I love Angolans. That is going to be a project I am about to go after. That's a great project. I love that. Angolans are absolutely beautiful. And it's weird. They are... Oh, wait. Shoot. Hang on. I'll answer that in a second. Southpaw. Let me hide that one, and then I'll answer yours in a second. Angolans look just like ball pythons. I don't think there's any Angolan morphs, but it doesn't matter. They look absolutely beautiful. But they seem to act more like, I don't know, maybe a carpet python just in their interactivity. I believe they're the same. I think that they're still, living mainly in burrows and stuff like that, like ball pythons. But and I might be wrong on that, but they seem to be more interactive than ball pythons. So that's cool that you're looking to get into that project. Southpaw, is it normal for my ball python to always be sticking his head out of his hide? Sure. Any slight vibration in the enclosure makes him dart out looking for food almost every time. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, sometimes they're looking for food, and sometimes they're just curious, I think. I don't know that they're always looking for food. Yours might be. I mean, it depends on the snake. But I have a few that do that. Anytime there's anything going on, the inspector does that in his bioactive. If anytime I'm spraying water in there or anything, he pops his head out and watches me. He wants to know what's going on. Ashley, yeah, I talked about this in I think last week's video. So you're saying if your snake hides most of the time, is it okay to not handle them as much? I want them to be comfortable, but I don't want our only interaction to be feeding. Yeah, so there, you've got to find a happy medium there. With my snakes, I said this I think in my last video. With my snakes, the ones that hide more often don't get handled as much because I don't like having to always wake up a snake and pull them out of their hide. I'd prefer to work with the ones that are out and moving around. I can see through all my tubs, and I can see the ones that are that are up and moving around. And it's usually in the morning or in the evening that one or two of them are up and moving, and that's who I'll work with. If I have a reason to pull a snake out of their hide, like somebody wants to see tiger lily, then I'll pull them out of their hide. And it's not a huge deal. You know, tiger lily is not afraid of me. And so, you know, I'll just pull her out and she'll wake up and she'll, you know, move around and be just fine. So if you've got a snake that's hiding a lot, I would say work with them a couple times a week. Go ahead and pull them out of their hide a couple times a week. Or wait till, you know, there's probably going to be a time at night that they are going to come out, and you could wait till those times also, so you're not always yanking them out of their hide. Skeptic Knowledge, have you had a bunch of snakes shed in the same week? Yeah, they do. There seems to be like 2 cycles that my snakes are on where I'll get a whole bunch of sheds in a row and then nothing for a while, and then the next half of snakes will all shed in a row. It's kind of cool. Damara just shed yesterday and gave me a really nice, great big, perfect one-piece shed that I have saved. Andrea Hollis, hi Bob, I love your snakes names. I just got a 5-year-old male firefly at an expo. Would you bestow him with a rad name? Yeah. Wash. Tell me if you guys get the reference. I would name him Wash or... Oh, man. I gotta hang on. I haven't watched Firefly in so long. But I absolutely... If you're not a Firefly fan, you're not going to get this, but... trying to type with. So, I would name him Malcolm or Wash or Captain Reynolds. I really like putting Captain in front of a snake's name. Or the book. Shepherd. I'd name him Shepherd. Shepherd is the not priest, like the reverend or whatever on Firefly on the ship. So I would name him one of those names, and if you're not a Firefly fan, I recommend that you go and watch the entire series. It didn't go that long because it sadly was canceled. One of the greatest shows ever. And then name your Firefly after one of the Firefly characters. Okay. Where was I at? Did I miss Echo again? Where'd she go? Hang on. Oh, there she's all the way up top. Okay. I thought I was going to have to get up and search for a snake. She's going to get herself into trouble. I'm going to have to pull her down in a minute. I've got another snake that's climbing on my hat. Anna, that is a true statement. Firefly was the best. Yeah, this is a good thing for snakes that like to hide. Tend to put a hoodie on backwards and settle them into the hood. Yeah, I do a form of that, which is I'll put a few pillows on my lap and let a snake crawl into the pillows and be more comfortable. I'm gonna hang on. Which hand should I do? There we go. Just want to spot Tiger Lily while she's climbing on my hat. Angela's asking, how old is my oldest ball python? 2015. So, what is that? 7 years? 7 years old is my oldest. I think. Okay, let's go back to these questions. Well, Tiger Lily does her thing. I don't trust this hat. Tiger Lily's heavy, man. I think of her as a little snake, but she is not a little snake. She likes to eat, and she has grown in the not even 1 year that she's lived on this earth. She's become a big girl. So back to this. Let's see if I can finish this thing real quick. Oh, by the way, these questions that I'm reading come from the Horde of Keepers, of which, can I have my arm real quick, please? Thank you. Of which we'll do the scroll really fast before I forget. Here is the Horde of Keepers, and you guys, somebody alerted me to the fact that I spelled horde wrong. Nobody else knew it, and here's the thing. If I spell something, wait, there we go. If I spell something and I don't get a little red line on the computer underneath the word, then I assume that I spelled it correctly. And apparently I spelled horde as though like hoarding something instead of a group of people. But that kind of makes sense too, because we're all sort of hoarding snakes. So here's board number 2 of the Horde of Keepers. I've added some people, including my good friend Amy, and the Reptile Verse just got added. And when that happens, you guys, for those of you in the Horde, you'll notice that the names that are up here get erased and put at the bottom of the list. So those will be at the bottom. So if you don't see your name where it was before, that's probably because it was just moved to make room for other stuff. Since this is a handwritten thing, there's Black Box Cages, a new channel sponsor that we're going to talk about in an upcoming video. But anyway, just know that a lot of times I'm moving names around. So if you don't see your name where it was, it is probably on there. And if you don't see your name at all, let me know, because it's not a computer program that's putting those boards together. It's just me trying to do my best. Where does that go? Oh, there she is. She's right under my hat. So thank you to the Horde of Keepers, Secret Society, Thundercrack, over on Patreon. All right, here we go. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, I have 4 more questions from them that are good questions. So Robert says, I lost my ball python in early May through negligence. Changed out a thermostat. First of all, that sentence, most people would not write that sentence. He's saying he lost his ball python. He feels like it was his own fault. Most people would just say my ball python got lost. So the fact that you're saying that it was your fault means you probably are learning. Changed out a thermostat probe through a hole in the side of the enclosure and didn't seal it properly. So that's something that is understandable. I still have a boa, but this is the second snake I've lost through negligence and the third that I've lost in total. I feel terrible about it. At what point do I just pack it in and give up on the hobby for the snake's sake? I think I answered this question to you when you wrote it, but it's tough. It's heartbreaking when you lose an animal, and especially when it's something that could have been prevented. I mean, most of the time when we lose an animal, when an animal gets out, it's something that was preventable. And it's really tough, but we learn from those experiences. And I know Robert. I've had a number of communications with him, and he's a really smart guy. So I would say no, don't pack it in. I think you're doing just fine. You've had a couple of bouts of bad luck, and even though your snakes, 2 of your snakes may have gotten out due to something that was preventable, I think you're learning how great of escape artists they are, and you probably just had some bad luck. So don't pack it in. I think you're a good keeper. So there is that. Lisa says, one topic I'd so appreciate your insight with is when to do a permanent enclosure upgrade, especially for some of us Horde members who may only keep 2 to 6 in our collection as pets and would prefer a showcase enclosure versus racking system. So many options out there. Yeah. So, I think the sooner you can get them in their permanent enclosure, the better, especially if you're doing a really nice display enclosure. And for small snakes, sometimes that's going to make them uncomfortable. But what you can do, Lori Torini does this, and I've done it before as well, is you take a hatchling in their tub that they're used to being in, and then you put that tub in the big enclosure and let them decide if they want their tub or if they want the big enclosure, and do it that way. And a lot of times they will eventually choose that bigger enclosure. They'll get used to it. You have a bunch of hides and clutter and such like that. And most small snakes will do just fine in a large enclosure. And if you can grow them up in that enclosure, that's always going to be their home. And you don't have to keep buying new upgraded enclosures. So as soon as you can is my advice on that. With the caveat that you may have a snake that requires being in a smaller enclosure. But most do not. Frank is saying, Bob, would you maybe be able to do a musical interlude for my partner who is a musician and has given up space from his man cave so that I can keep my royals? He always admires your instruments in the background. That's right. I have another background, which is the instruments on my wall. Why? How do these bots keep getting in here, you guys? I don't get it. Block user. There we go. I do have, I've got a bunch of instruments on my wall. I will do a musical interlude. Let me answer this last question, and then I'll grab either a banjo and do the old theme song on banjo, or I'll grab a ukulele and do something on ukulele. You guys can decide. Put it in the comments if I should grab a banjo or a ukulele. It'll be fast though, because we're going to get back to snake talk. Okay. Fong Li. So let me do this. Let me put her back. Well, no, she's doing fine. Fong Li has a number of questions here. It's newbie snake reptile owner with quite a bit of questions. So we're going to just blow through these. My blue-eyed Lucy tends to get quite a bit of blood on him when he feeds. What's the best way to get rid of that? Of course, after the 24 to 48 hour time feeding. I have wipes that I use. That happens, and you can usually see them on the blood on the white snake. And so I just have wipes that I mix up F10 and do that. But you can do it with a alcohol wipe, in anything like that, or just water on a paper towel. We'll just wipe that right off. When you handle your snakes real early in the morning or at night when their day-night cycle is on night cycle, so in other words, the lights are off, do you have the lights on or just dim the lights? I don't know if the snake thinks it's nighttime or if the handling session would confuse them. Yeah, I don't worry about them being confused about whether it's day or night, but I do know that in general, especially early in the morning, snakes aren't looking for bright lights to be shining in their eyes. So I usually have the lights dim in anyway. If I have the snakes out with me, I'm a little bit conscious of that, but I don't think it's a huge deal. I just think they prefer it a little bit darker. All right, there's another question here. Let me just find it from her. What signs of them are you looking for to know they are uncomfortable? Howl, that's your snake's name, always seems relaxed muscle-wise, but freezes a bit when I hold him. No tongue flicking, but his muscles still seem relaxed. So would that mean he's comfortable? Yeah, so when they stop, when they just freeze and don't tongue flick, they are trying to assess the situation. There might be danger, and they do not want to give away their position. So they're just going to sit there for a moment. And you can sit there still also and probably count 10 seconds, maybe 5, and then they'll tongue flick and start to move again. They'll realize that nothing bad has happened. And you'll notice that happens, that freeze happens usually when you've made a quick movement somewhere. That'll make them freeze and do that. So that's a little tense moment for them, but that's okay. I mean, that is standard ball python behavior. If they feel like there might be a threat, they'll do that. They'll pause, and then you can, that when they're paused and in that statue mode, you don't want to do anything crazy. You don't want to come over the top of their head with your hand or anything like that, because they're trying to assess if the situation is dangerous or not. So I just like to I just like to, hey, where are you going? I just like to be still with them when they do that and let them come out of it on their own, you know. The other thing you can do is sometimes they'll pause. It's almost like their system shut down for a minute. Like they won't 5 or 10 seconds later start moving around. They'll just stay in that paused moment for a little bit. And I just sort of scratch. I don't go for the very back of their tail, but their back third I'll just kind of touch, and that'll get them moving again without totally freaking them out. Do you want to go back? Is that what you're trying to do, young lady? So let me put her back. Oh, and let's see if anybody... Okay, so we got people saying banjo. So I'm putting her back, and I'm grabbing a banjo. We're going to do a quick theme song if I can remember it. All right. You guys, it's so hot in here. I don't know if this banjo is even tuned or in the right tuning for this particular thing. So I used to have this opening theme song that I came up with and I really liked, and I would play the opening theme song, and then I realized that the views from especially brand new viewers who don't know my channel, they kind of dropped off because on YouTube people don't have the patience to sit through an opening sequence. And I realized that that sequence doesn't add anything to the show, you know, like it's just an opening thing. So I got rid of it. But here's the tune I came up with, if I can remember it. Good enough. Let me try it one more time. That is about as good as I'm going to play it, unless I had half an hour to work on it. So there we go. Little banjo tune. And this. Let's see if I can remember this. Real fast. This will be real fast, so I won't get back to snakes. Name that tune, you guys. Let's see. What was that? Name that tune. Okay. Now we're back to... the reptile verse got it. Take on me. Well done. Amy got it too. Good work, Amy. Erica, thanks so much for the super chat. Oh, that's so nice. You didn't even have a question. You're just saying that I'm awesome and informative and entertaining at the same time. That's really nice. I appreciate that, Erica. Thanks so much. Lori got it. Sram got it. A lot of people got Take on Me. That is a tune that sometimes I'll bust that out. I haven't played that in a long time. Sometimes I'll bust that out, and usually people go, "Oh, what is that? I know that song. What is it? What is it?" And they never guess it. But it's very recognizable. So congrats to those of you who guessed that it was Take on Me by Aha. KT, what I'm drinking tonight is... Wait, where's the comment? There we go. What I'm drinking tonight is just Monkey Shoulder. It's a nice blended Scotch. I'm not a huge blended Scotch person, but Monkey Shoulder is inexpensive and very good for a I don't know what it is, $30 bottle maybe, something like that. I like it. It's not smoky at all. I tend to prefer the smoky Scotch, but I can't always drink smoky Scotch. Is really, it's challenging to drink, and you're not always in the mood for that. So you guys, I'm coming up the comments a little bit just randomly, and I'm gonna see if I can answer a few here. Ashley says, one other question. Here, let me do this. One other question, is it normal for ball pythons to dig and burrow? I moved mine into a bioactive setup, and it has burrowed all over. Yeah. They made their own hides and don't even use the ones I got. Yeah, that happens sometimes. So ball pythons, it is relatively normal for them to dig and burrow. Some do it and some don't. In the wild, they're, for the most part, using rodent burrows that are already dug. They don't dig their own. But that being said, if your substrate is loose enough, a lot of them like to do that. I'm just checking on Echo right above me. Yeah, sometimes they'll dig, and you've got to watch out, because if they do, if your substrate is too sandy and dusty, they'll get that stuck in their heat pits and in their nose, and that could potentially cause a problem. But the inspector, when he first went into his bioactive, he dug tunnels all through, and I haven't seen him digging much at all, and he doesn't use those tunnels anymore, really, but he dug all over the place at first. It might be that the substrate is too compact at this point for him to really do much of that. I don't know. I haven't tested it, but it's possible. Or maybe he just decided he didn't want to spend the time. Lori's always, Lori, that's probably your fourth warning that Echo's coming, but I'm so far behind always. Okay, let's see. Oh, I actually went further up. All right, hang on. Again, I apologize to those that I'm missing comments. What are some items to give a hatchling that is very shy but really curious when she goes to handling mode? You know what's good to do for something like that is take something that she's already familiar with that's in her enclosure and show it to her and let her climb on that, because it's something that she's familiar with. It's probably going to have a bit of her scent on it, and will make her feel comfortable. That's a good thing to do. I mentioned something like that in a recent video, that, if they're used to your hand, just showing them your hand is helpful. But just having a piece of wood that your snake recognizes the smell of, that you can show them is kind of they can sort of anchor their confidence on that item, when they're out and about in a new area and not feeling confident. They kind of need something to anchor their confidence on. They don't have to have something. They'll figure it out eventually. But if you want to help them emotionally, it's good to give them something that they can anchor to a bit. Do you change substrate in the bioactive? I haven't. I heard when I was doing a ton of bioactive research from people that they're like, yeah, you only need to change it like once a year. I haven't needed to change my substrate. I haven't had a problem with it. I clean out any defecation, whatever. I add to it. But it's been 2 years and I haven't changed it. So I really don't know the answer to that. I don't know if there's a point where you do have to change it, but I haven't had mold, mildew. There's no weird smell. The plants are growing fine. It's like there's no reason to change it at this point. So I don't know if you can just keep it forever and just keep adding to it and it keeps churning. I'm not sure. Let me know if somebody knows, if somebody's better at plants and soil than I am. I wish Tanner watched this. Tanner Serpa at Serpa Designs. I wish he was in this and could comment, because I bet Tanner knows. What a great channel that is, you guys. Serpa Designs. If you don't already watch his stuff, man, that guy's incredible. The reptile verse. Have you ever had a ball python escape? My female broke the track off her boa master and is loose in the reptile room. Bummer. That's a bummer. I have had other reptiles escape, especially when I was younger and wasn't good at having them in secure enclosures, which reminds me that I should keep an eye on these snakes. I think that so my answer is no. I have them all in either racks / tubs, which are almost impossible to push a tub in. And then this is very secure. I have a PVC top. The only way that I could figure out that the inspector could potentially escape was through the flimsy screen top of this. This is an Exoterra. So I just replaced it with a PVC, custom PVC top. So I haven't had an animal just escape, but if I ever lose an animal, it's going to be my fault. I'll find them. I don't have a very big place, so I'm not super concerned, but it'll be my fault for not watching them when they're already out. I just did that video about free roaming snakes, and I don't think I touched on this enough, but it is a risk. When you free roam snakes, you're taking a risk. But I think that the risk reward is good enough. There's enough reward for the snake generally that it's worth the risk. And I'm always really careful and try to keep an eye on them. The small ones, I don't care about the big ones. They can go wherever they want. I don't, they could be out for the whole day and it doesn't matter. But these small ones, they can wedge themselves. Let's see if you can see. Oh yeah, you can. You see Stella right there? She's just happily on this. This worked out really nicely. I've had this for about a week now. These two basket things, and they're working out really nicely for the snakes. They like sitting in them. Jay Meyer, this is a great question. I always hear that a hiding ball python is a happy ball python, and if they're out exploring often, they are stressed and unhappy. Is this true? Not necessarily, but maybe. It's a tough one to answer because yes, a snake that is, if you get a ball python and they're brand new and you put them in their new enclosure, there's a good chance that for the first several days, maybe the first week or so, you're going to see them out roaming a bit, and that's kind of stress behavior. They're getting used to their enclosure. They're up, and they're not ready to settle down yet in that stress behavior. But there are also some snakes that's kind of part of their personality. They will be awake. So let's take Lydia Dietz, for example. Lydia is awake for more of the morning than most of the other ball pythons. When the other ones have gone back to sleep by 5 or 6 a.m., Lydia is awake and wanting to move around. Same with Damara, awake and wanting to move around until 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. They're not stressed. That's kind of their schedule. So, and then sometimes Dolly, for example, will be up all day if she's ready to eat. So when it's usually the day before her feeding day and the day of, she's awake looking for food. And Tiger Lily does that as well. Those are Dolly and Tiger Lily are the two my two holdbacks from last year that I kept from Freya's clutch. I sometimes just mention names assuming that everybody knows who I'm talking about, but they don't. Those of you who are diehard watchers of my channel know, but I realize most people don't. All right, let's see. Okay, now we're back to when I did the Banjo thing. Deborah. Wait, I just missed this. I'm getting rid of the bots, and Deborah wanted to find a naked girl. So sorry, Deborah. I'll make sure that next time we get spammed with a bot, I'll keep it up there for you to click on. Okay, now Deborah has an actual question. I'm getting my ball python in 2 weeks. Should I start him out in my 55-gallon or my 30-gallon? He is a juvenile. I mean, try him. If you plan on putting him in a 50-gallon, try him in the 50-gallon and have lots of hides and lots of clutter. I think, I'm kind of guessing when I say this, but I feel like more than 50% of hatchling ball pythons will be fine in a big enclosure that has lots of clutter and such like that. I will say, though, that you want to make sure that they can, echoes slowly creeping down, that they can get to their water. So it can't be like a massive room size. You want them to be able to find their water and get back to their hides, stuff like that. I'm trying to imagine how big 55 gallons is, and I can't really, but as long as they know where their water bowl is and such like that, and as long as you're able to control their heat and humidity in a situation like that, we're talking about a tank. It looks like you're saying 55 gallon, 30 gallons. So I'm guessing that you're talking about a glass tank. Those are a little bit harder to control the heat in, because glass it isn't good at keeping heat in. I always, I think PVC enclosures are really the way to go over a glass enclosure, but it can be done. So my point is that you might set up your 55 gallon and you might find that it's really hard to keep 90 and 80 in that. You might have to have extra heat on the cold side just to keep it at 80, depending on what your room ambient temperatures are. It might be easier to keep that in a 30 gallon. So give it a try, though. You just don't know the personality of the snake until it gets to you, and you give it a couple weeks, to see how it does. Phil's asking if I'm planning on getting a green tree python at some point. I really like green tree pythons, but I like emerald tree boas better, and there's a chance that my guess is that I'll have an emerald tree boa instead of a green tree python. I think they're fantastic, but I don't want a whole bunch of them. And because of convergent, what's the word? Convergent evolution? Convergent evolution. Is that the right word? Somebody tell me if I'm saying that right. Green tree pythons and emerald tree boas, which live on complete opposite ends of the world, and they aren't even in the same family, basically on a tree they look the same, and they act very similar. And I like those boas. They're cool. I won't have any soon, but I think I will at some point. Tina, thanks. I've had a lot of people like that old opening, and the thing is, the people that are familiar with my channel and were watching every week, a lot of them really liked that opening, and I had the little montage of the snakes, and that was fun, and they were willing to sit through that. But new viewers to the channel were not. I was saying, you can see when you have a channel, you can see the analytics, and you can see exactly when people start dropping off, and it was the there was a big drop off right at the theme song, so that's why I cut it. And there's now, you want people, if you're trying to play the YouTube game, and get and try to get people viewing for as long as possible. Obviously, you want them to view till the end, and I don't usually do that thing. You'll see a lot of YouTubers that really play the game, and they're like, watch till the end because I've got a secret thing, and they try to give you a little teaser so that you'll watch till the end. And I've never done that. I always try to put a funny thing. I'll end the show and then throw up the little logo, and then there's a funny thing right after that. So people that know that if they watch till the very end, there will be a little funny tag. It's usually something Kent says, or maybe something silly that the snakes are doing. Maybe it's an outtake or something. They'll get to see that, but I haven't. Anyway, that was a long explanation of why I cut the theme song. Okay, now I'm back to Erica's super chat, which I super appreciate, and we're back to people guessing. I'm so far up, you guys. I'm just gonna. Sorry, I just have to get back to. I'm gonna go through this later, like tomorrow or something, and see tons of stuff that I missed that I really wish I had. I one time did a whole video on questions that I missed from a live stream. I might do that again. It makes for a good video. The Swans are asking, had to step away for a minute. I don't know if this has already been asked. Do you recommend a male or female ball python? Is there really a difference besides side? It has not been asked, although people occasionally ask me that. There's not really a difference, and also size is not really that different either. If you're not breeding, the size more has to do with how much you're feeding the snake. And yes, females tend to get a little bit bigger, but if you had a male and a female, and let's say they had basically the same genetics except for the gender, right? And you fed them exactly the same thing, that male's not going to be much smaller than the female. So a lot of it has to do with what you feed them. The inspector is not a massive snake because he doesn't get anything bigger than a small rat ever. And he, normally I would say that his feeding schedule is once every 2 weeks, a small rat. That's good for a male ball python. But I also know that he's going to go off food for about 4 months. And because of that, when he's on food, I feed him once a week, a small rat. But again, we are off the subject of this specific question, which is there is really no difference in personality or anything like that. It really doesn't matter. And the size thing just has to do with what you choose to feed them, how much you choose to feed them. You don't want to overfeed and you don't want to underfeed. But if you kept a female snake to a small rat once a week, that'd be just fine. That's not underfeeding a snake. Okay, Echo's still doing good up there. Should I grab another snake, you guys? Hang on. Amy, I think you should get a green tree python, and then next time I see you in Utah, I want you to show me your green tree python. How about that? KT, Hog Island Boa, those are so cool. I love those little guys. It's a great choice. Yeah, Phil, I have pythons partially because, I love pythons. They're cool, but also I called my situation green room pythons. And as soon as I get a Amazon basin tree boa, if I ever get one of those, that would be my preference, is an Amazon basin tree boa. I'm going to have to call it green room pythons and boas, but I guess that's fine. Oh, you already gave me an idea. Bob's new channel, Bob's Boas. You're on the right track, Phil. The Real Cheese is saying, can you tell me about your rack system? Yeah, I have, right now I've got sea serpents racks, which I really like, and I have a few of them. The next racks that I probably get are going to be Black Box, because they are sponsoring the channel now, and I want to try those racks and see if I doubt that there's going to be any difference really between Black Box and Sea Serpents. I really like the Sea Serpents. I have Black Box products, but not their racks, and I'm guessing that they super high quality, so I'm guessing that Black Box is going to be just as good, if not better, than Sea Serpents. But I don't know how you can go better. A rack is a simple thing. You've got heat tape either on the bottom or on the back, and it's a rack that holds the tub. There's not much that you can mess up. So there's that. And I say that without getting into the big rack debate. Megan's asking, I was told rats are better than mice, so that's what I've been doing. Is that correct? Yes, it is, with the caveat that mice are fine for ball pythons. I've said this in a lot of videos, but yeah, rats have a little bit more nutritional content than mice. And look at Echo just found her target. Oh, you can't see. Hang on. I'm going to try to move the mic so you can see. Look at this. This is her target. and she just found it, and she's hoping that I'll feed her now. I'm not going to feed you, though, but I will pull you off of there. How about that? Hang on, I'm going to get back on track in just a second. Okay, come here. There we go. Here, we got Echo. She is super light today. I think they call this fired up when they're really light. I think light is fired up and dark is fired down. I might be wrong though. But okay, let's talk about this rats versus mice really fast. I've got a few videos that talk about this, but the fact is mice are just fine. They really are. I have a adult female snake that's a mouser, and she does just fine on them. Rats end up being cheaper because you can get more nutrition in them, and you can buy a larger single animal, single prey item to feed them. But mice are just fine. So if you've got a snake that's a mouser, it's not like that. You'll see people on Facebook and other groups that are like, that's like feeding your kid Twinkies all the time. It's absolutely not. It's a fine prey item. It's just that rats have a little bit more nutritional content, and you can buy larger ones. Once your snake needs something more than a jumbo mouse. So I do recommend that people feed their ball pythons rats if they can get them on rats. That it's a little bit better, but it's not the end of the world if they're a mouser. Okay, so Amy wants to see Maya, and Lisa wants to see Damara. I'm gonna say we'll do both of those. Phil wants to see Maya also. We'll do both of those. I'm gonna get Maya for a minute, but I want to make sure that Maya is not to be trusted, and in general, I don't have her out with other snakes. But if these snakes will stay away, sort of, then she won't be with the other snakes. All right, so there goes Echo. I tell you what I'm going to do. Let's get Damara out first, because Damara just shed. We'll get Damara out first because I'd like to make sure that Echo is settled before I get Maya out, because I don't want to have to reach out and be dealing with Echo in one hand and Maya in the other. For those of you who don't know, Maya is my black-headed python who is always very hungry, and black-headed pythons eat other reptiles. So you don't want, and she's definitely big enough to eat one of my yearling super dwarves. So I'm just very careful with that situation. Let's get Damara out though, because Damara does not eat other reptiles. Hold on. Hi, Mama. Oh, you're a big girl. Come here. She was out for a good portion of the day today. She curled up under the couch today and slept for about 4 hours before I put her back in her home. So this is Damara, who is just a pinstripe girl, and I would love her to produce some viable eggs with the inspector, but if she doesn't, I'm totally happy with her just being a pet, because she's such a sweet personality, and she's just great. I really like her. I mean, I like all my snakes, but some are, she spends more time with me just in my lap because she tolerates it. She tolerates sitting in my lap and watching Netflix or YouTube videos with me, and so you tend to develop a sort of more of a relationship when you've got a snake that does that. Amy, deal. Robert, you are late to the party because Tiger Lily has already been out and put away. Sorry about that. Helen's World is asking, I was wondering, does a juvenile ball python do well in a 25-gallon glass enclosure? Sure. I mean, it depends on what you're calling a juvenile. But yeah, you know, I say that at minimum, and everybody has their own opinions. You're going to have people say that you can't put a ball python on anything that's smaller than a 4x2x2. That's they're usually talking about adults, but you never know on Facebook. You're talking about a juvenile. That could be a snake that's a hatchling, or it could be a snake that's 1,500 grams. You know, so the minimum that I say in general is that the snake should not be longer than one side plus one end of the enclosure. And the reason I say in general is because some ball pythons especially are comfortable in something smaller than that, and some are roamers and they're comfortable in something larger than that. And I'll give 2 examples. Lydia Dietz, I just upgraded her. She is one that's out a lot. I just mentioned that she's out in the morning a lot. She's my clown. I have another video that was out recently where she had a puffy face from pushing a little bit, so she needed an upgrade, and I upgraded her. She's in shed right now, so I'm not pulling her out, but she's doing fine with the upgrade. Her I want to say colleague, Delilah, is my freeway girl, and Delilah is a little bit bigger than her. Delilah's in a, I don't know what you call these tubs, but Delilah is currently in a juvenile tub. It's like the one that's one smaller than the V70. I normally would not have a 2,000 gram ball python in anything smaller than a V70, but Delilah, when I tried to upgrade her, she didn't eat, and Delilah never misses a meal. So, and then I tried to change her hides because she wasn't fitting in her hides, and she didn't eat her meal, so I put her hides back. So what I'm doing now is, oh, here's the update on her, by the way, you guys. For those of you who saw the video that I accidentally bred her with Ron a little bit early. I was planning on breeding her like at the end of the year, but they locked up last month. She is developing follicles now. I palpated her recently, and she's in with Ron right now again for the second time. So I'm just going to continue breeding her this season, and she just started, so her breeding season just started last month, but I can feel follicles in there, and hopefully she'll give me eggs. And so my plan with her is that I'm going to wait till she lays eggs in this smaller tub, and then when I pull the eggs and clean her up and give her a new tub, it's going to be a V70, and I'm just going to give her the new tub. And at that point, she probably, you know, if this all goes to plan and she does what I hope she'll do, she probably, you know, she will have ovulated and had those, you know, laid those eggs. That means she wouldn't have eaten for a few months. She'll be ready for a meal eventually. She'll eat in the new V70, and she'll be off to the races. That's my strategy, but with snakes, strategies don't always work out the way you want them to. So we'll see. All right, so we got Echo. Echo is settled. That's great. So let me we'll hang out here with Damara for a little bit more, and then we'll get Maya out. Okay. Teresa, no. Putting a heat mat under a PVC, well, I shouldn't say no as a blanket statement because it depends on the thickness of that PVC. There are some PVC enclosures that are thinner that a heat mat works on, apparently. But I would wonder if that maybe eventually would warp the PVC. I just wouldn't, if you're using a PVC enclosure, there's no need to use a heat mat. Just do overhead heat. I've said this fairly recently in videos. Ball pythons do not need belly heat. They just need heat. And if you can provide a good heat panel or a radiant heat panel or a deep heat projector or just a CHE, I would say, you know, if you've got a CHE situation, you might as well throw a deep heat projector in there because I think that's better anyway. Just do that, and you won't need the belly heat. Let's see. Another question. My juvenile ball python, about 2 months. I feed her once a week. Should I change it to once every 5 days? No, not really. If they're already off to the races and eating, I wouldn't worry about that. I don't think that a ball python ever really needs to be fed like needs to be fed once every 5 days. That's kind of standard when they're hatchlings, when they're right out of the egg. And I do it when they're hatchlings for their first handful of meals because I want to get them used to eating meals. But whether I am feeding them every 5 days, but it wouldn't matter if I waited 2 more days to feed. It's not like they're going to go downhill all of a sudden because they had to wait 2 more days to eat a meal. In the wild, they might have to wait 2 weeks from their first meal to their second. So you just never know. But the reason that I do that with a hatchling that just came out of an egg is to just really get them started and get them used to eating and understanding what that is. And then I switch them to once a week and they're just fine. So, hey, can I move you, Damara? Because I'm trying to show you off and you're not being very good. All right, well, I'm going to let her do what she wants to do, I guess. She's very strong and I didn't want to fight her. Oh, wait, hang on. I just lost my spot. So you guys are Team Maya. We're gonna get Maya here in just a second. Teresa, I have some snakes that'll eat during shed and some that won't, and it doesn't really matter. Even the ones that do, sometimes I skip the meal for them. We get really used to feeding ball pythons on a set schedule, and because humans are sort of schedule oriented, and it stresses us out to have to miss that particular schedule or whatever. But the reality is that a ball python can go, oh, she's trying to crawl in my hat. That's not gonna serve her well, I don't think. This hat will not stand up to her weight, but we'll see what happens. So a ball python in the wild is not going to eat on a schedule at all. They're gonna eat whenever they have the opportunity to eat, and sometimes they don't have the opportunity for a really long time. And that's why a snake can go a very long time, months and months, without eating, without hardly losing any weight. But the other thing is that the actual digestion process for a ball python, or for a snake in general, but we're talking specifically ball pythons, is much more than 2 to 3 days. We say don't handle them for 2 to 3 days because they still have a lump in their belly and they could regurgitate it. But the actual digestion process is that their organs are all doubling in size and all this crazy stuff is happening inside of them, that it's a huge deal to digest a meal, and it takes 10 plus days for their system to get from the beginning of digestion all the way back to normal. So usually we don't even let ball pythons ever get back to normal. So I think it's just fine when they're in shed, whether they're going to take a meal or not, to let them skip that week. Let them get their system back to normal. I think it's really healthy for them to do that. So that's what I choose to do with mine anyway. Hold on, I'm trying to, dang it. Werewolf, Wolfie, thanks so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. My leopard gecko, Arthur, says hi and you're awesome. Oh, that's so nice. I'm glad that your leopard gecko thinks I'm awesome. I'm glad that I have leopard gecko fans. Where is my snake? Oh, look at that. Oh, you guys, look at that girl. How cute is she? Right? Oh my gosh. I love Damara. She's the best. Oh, here you go. If anybody wants to click the link, how long has that been up? Has that been up for a really long time? Why is that? That's never been that big of a problem before of the spam bots. KT, your channel is not officially the bomb until scammers troll you. Congratulations, Bob. Thanks. I appreciate that. Oh, by the way, we just hit 8,000 subscribers, you guys. I think we're at 8,100 or something like that, or maybe just under. And I noticed in my last live stream a month ago, I had announced that we had just hit 7,000 subscribers. So that's really exciting. I appreciate Those of you, if you're watching this, I'm assuming that most people that are watching right now are subscribed to the channel. But if you're not, hit subscribe. And also, I don't know. I'm not on the YouTube site, so I don't know how many likes we have. I don't know how many people are in. Oh yeah, I do. We have 71 in. That's a good number. I hope I have at least 71 likes. I don't know how many likes I have, but it helps out the channel. Those likes, it's not just a narcissistic thing. It's that the likes tell YouTube to push the video out to other people. If folks are liking it. So likes and comments, just any kind of engagement, really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And most new viewers come to the channel because YouTube has recommended it in their feed, in their personal feed. Like they watch some other snake channel, maybe they watch Snake Discovery or something like that. If I have a video that seems to be doing well, that people are liking, they'll recommend that video to that person. Damara, what is going on here? She is tightly squeezing my arm. I think she was just trying to move. Can I put you back? Let's see what happens. Do you want to go back in your hide? Hang on. Let's just wait. There we go. Just going back in her hide. We've got Echo right here. I can't really easily put Echo away because all of my stuff is sitting right in front of her enclosure. So she's just going to sit on top of Stella right now. All right, I'm going to bring Maya out for not very long. I'm going to hope that I don't have to manage these two. How are you doing? Are you going to be okay? Huh? Can you stay on your situation there? She's trying to decide if she wants to take a chunk out of my hand or not. Echo, Echo's a very sweet snake, as sweet as a reptile can be. She's never been defensive, but she has bit me a number of times, including the time that last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, on a live stream with Patreon, because she'll just all of a sudden get in food mode and be looking for food. Come on, babes. And there was a 12-year-old girl and her mom that live across the street. They want snakes, or they want a snake. So they came over to ask questions and look at snakes and stuff like that. And I was handing Echo to this girl, to the 12-year-old girl, to let her hold Echo. And as soon as Echo saw that hand, I could tell in her body language that those tongue flicks that she was doing were deciding if that was food. And so I went, actually, on second thought, let me not have you hold her. And I pulled Echo away and moved my hand slightly in front of Echo's face, and she tagged me instead of the girl. But she almost bit a 12-year-old girl, and it probably would have ruined her on snakes for forever. So I'm really glad that she bit me instead. A bite that Echo delivers is almost nothing because you can't feel it, and, it draws some blood. But she's a tiny girl, so it's no big deal. All right, so what I want to do is let Echo do her exploring, whatever she's doing, and then settle again, and then I'll get Maya, I promise. Hang on, let me answer a couple more questions. Okay, so, hey, to follow up on the feeding question, my ball python was born last year, so let's say 7 months old. Okay, it's only 150 grams. All right, that's really small, as you probably know. But he's taking meals, rats, so I feed him every 5 days because I think he was starved. Yeah, well, he probably wasn't starved. I mean, if this is a new snake to you, you probably bought the snake from a breeder that was maintenance feeding the snake, which is an unfortunate thing that a lot of breeders do. I shouldn't say a lot, but some breeders do, where they will just feed the snake enough to keep it alive, but they don't grow the snake because they know they're going to sell it. So that doesn't necessarily cause health problems, I don't think. you know, what you end up doing is you just start feeding the snake an appropriately sized meal, 10 to 15% of the snake's current body weight, and then watch them grow, and make sure that you know, as the snake grows, their prey item gets bigger too, and then they'll grow. Maya, I think the blackhead that I'm about to take out, she was kind of maintenance fed. She was 1.5 years old when I got her, and she wasn't super tiny, but she was, you know, I think if she was being fed every 3 to 5 days, which is kind of what you're supposed to do with black-headed pythons, she would have been a lot bigger than that when I got her. So I don't think the breeder that had her was doing anything wrong, and she certainly wasn't underweight. She was just kind of small for 1.5 years. So I feed her very small meals once every 3 to 5 days, and so we're not even going 10% of her body weight. It's quite a bit less than that. But that's kind of what the way black-headed pythons eat in the wild. So we want to sort of mimic that. And she's also not eating rats and mice as much. She's eating iguana, reptilinks, and birds, which are way less nutritionally dense. So the small meals that I'm giving her are also not nearly as nutritious as a rat. If I was giving her rats every 3 to 5 days, she'd be massive. But anyway, my point is that I got her on a regular feeding schedule, and even with that, small meals that are not very nutritionally dense, she has more than doubled in size. Those of you who know how big Maya was when I got her, and you see her in videos now, and you're about to see her, know how big she's gotten in the last 6 months that I've had her. She has more than doubled in size. So without being overweight at all, she's still super skinny. She's just way bigger. So that's that. Okay, that being said, let me just see where she settles, and then I'll get Maya. This is a good question, Skeptic Knowledge. Which one of your snakes has the weirdest eating ritual? My 9-year-old will only eat his small rat on a plate. Yeah, some do that. Damara, who I just put back, sometimes will only eat on a plate. She usually strikes, but sometimes she wants me to just set it down, and she'll eat it sometime that night. My weirdest one, though, is Dolly, who is Tiger Lily's sister, my other holdback from last year. Dolly, oftentimes, and she did it the other night, will, rather than striking, let me know if you have snakes that do this, you guys. Rather than striking and biting the animal, she'll just move past it and wrap it with her neck and just pull it down, and she'll just squeeze it. I think Lori has told me that Marie does that. Marie is Dolly's sister, and I think Lori said that Marie does that too sometimes. But Dolly does it about 50% of the time. She won't strike. She'll just wrap it with her neck and take it off the tongs that way, which I think is so weird. Anna, this is a good point. Do your ball pythons hunt better in the dark? Sometimes it seems like mine has trouble seeing rats in the light, so sometimes she won't go for them until the lights are out. Yeah, I mean, that might be a thing. I'm feeding frozen thawed on tongs, and I'm just offering it to them. So I don't have much experience with that, with how they're hunting in light versus dark. But, I just did that video on snake vision, and in researching that video, I found that snakes are, or at least these snakes, ball pythons, do not see well during the day because of the way their eye structure is. And so daylight is not good for them seeing very well. And it makes me wonder if you take away their eyes are trying to see, right? They're in the light, their eyes are trying to see. But if you drop out that light and you just give them a dark situation, maybe their heat pits kick in a little bit better, and they're just going off of their Jacobson's organ and their heat pits, and they don't have their eyes trying to confuse things. I don't know. I'm just guessing here, but that might be very well the case, that they hunt better in the dark rather than in the light. Let's see. Oh, we're gonna get rid of some of these. Some people are saying good night. I'm gonna close this here in a little bit anyway. I'm gonna block those users. Okay, let's get Maya really quick. I mean, when I say really quick, she's probably Oh, hi. That is... she was right there. So she was right at the front of her tub and was very excited at the possibility that it might be food opening her tub rather than my hand. So we'll just use a hook on her. Look at how big this girl is, you guys. I mean, she's not big compared to an adult black-headed python, but she is huge compared to the size she was when I got her. She is, I think last time I kind of tried to measure her based on just her crawling across the doors. I think I measured her at 4.5 feet. But I try to work with her when I'm in town, and she hasn't. I usually work with her. She's fine at 18 to 24 hours after eating a meal because I never give her something that gives her a big lump in her belly. And so I try to work with her every day, and I always expect her to bite me, but she hasn't for a long time. It's been a long time that she's tried to go for me, unless she's in her tub and just doesn't know what's going on yet. Although I don't want her by my face, that's for sure. If she doesn't know what's going on yet, she'll whip around. Like if I touch her side and she doesn't know what's in there, she'll whip around and come at me with an open mouth, which is so weird. She just runs with an open mouth and hopes that she runs her mouth into something that she can eat. It's kind of the thing. And she's acting a little crazy right now, actually. I wonder if she's... You guys might see me get bit by a black-headed python, which they hang on, and I got to spray whiskey in her mouth if she bites me because she's not going to just let go. She doesn't really care if I'm food or not. She just wants to have her mouth around something. So, let's see, Ellen, I think you're not alone. I think a lot of people get stressed if they miss feeding day for their snake, but I'm telling you, even though your snake is acting hungry and acting like they want their food, because snakes understand a schedule too, it's really good for them to occasionally skip that. And my snakes, you guys, are not really on a schedule. I try to... Now, I don't have 100 snakes. If I had 100, I'd have to have them on a schedule. But I've got 18 is all, which is not a ton. And I can sort of figure out based on what they had the week before or 2 weeks before. I'll make notes in my Husbandry Pro app, that this snake ate a large meal and then took a leftover. Yeah, she's a little crazy. And then took a leftover meal the next week, and so she definitely needs to skip a week or something. I'll put that note in. And each snake I feed kind of based on what I think they need at the time. And then with the blackhead and the two super dwarves, their meals get changed up. They get a variety of meals, whereas the ball pythons just get mice and rats. The blackhead and the super dwarfs get birds, whether it's quail or day-old chicks, reptilinks, mice, rats, different things like that. Let's see. We're going to go about 10 more minutes, you guys, for those of you who are in different time zones and wanting to go to bed. Oh, this is cool. Artful Jackalope. That's how I found your channel accidentally. Oh, incidentally. I binged basically all of Snake Discovery, and then YouTube recommended yours. That's great. I'm glad that I'm getting recommended off Snake Discovery stuff. That is a juggernaut of a channel, Snake Discovery. And a very good channel that I recommend. I think Snake Discovery is great. So Mitzi Ann is reporting that there are 46 likes. There might be more now. She probably wrote this a while back. And 75 watching. Please don't forget to hit the like button, people. That's very nice. Yeah, hit the like if you haven't done that. Let's see, Robert. Bob, so what snakes do they think on mindset? Do they realize? I'm not sure what you're asking there. I'm guessing though. So the thing with black-headed pythons, this might have been what you were asking. Black-headed pythons have a hard time. This is based on Derek Roddy, who's kind of the expert. There's a couple of experts in the United States on blackheads, and Derek Roddy is one of them. And he thinks that the black-headed pythons have a hard time telling one mammal from another, like determining a human from a rat, because they normally would just be eating rodents in the wild, and we teach them to eat mammals. So they are more likely to go for a human with a food bite because they just don't understand the difference in the smell of a rodent versus a human or any other mammal. Eric, I've been researching ball pythons and would like to get a bell, but kind of unsure if it's a good idea to spend that kind of money on my first snake, and if I should get a boy or a girl. So the gender doesn't matter. I talked about that earlier. You probably weren't on though. These live streams tend to be really long. I'm going to put Maya back at this point while I'm answering this question. My thought is this: that you should get the snake that you want. So even if that means saving up a little bit extra money. And the reason I say that, hang on. This is the same. I get people asking me about instruments and like what instrument they should buy for their kids, and they want to just buy the cheapest sort of generic instrument possible. And I promise this relates to snakes. And I always tell people, buy your kid. Don't worry about how the instrument sounds. As long as it can play, as long as it plays okay, don't worry if it's like the perfect sound or not. Get them the coolest looking instrument possible, because that kid is going to be super proud of that awesome looking guitar that they have, whatever, and they will grab it and play it more. And that kind of goes with animals too. If you just save up the money and get what you want, you're going to be really proud of that animal. And either way, no matter what, you're going to end up developing a relationship with that animal, and you're going to love whatever you end up getting. But if you just get what you want, that relationship's going to be even quicker. You're going to be super proud of that animal. This is an animal that you've dreamed about, and then you got it. And I think that's worth a lot, with regard to developing a relationship. We got Echo back up on there, slowly working her way back to finding her target again. She constantly does this. As soon as she found her target, and I posted, the first time she ever found her target, I posted it on Instagram. There's a video of it on Instagram. And now she knows where it is. And I haven't moved it just because I feel like she's smart enough to know the difference of when she finds it on the wall and doesn't get fed versus when she's in her enclosure and I present it to her and then she gets fed. I think she can get the difference there. And even if it takes her a while to pick up on that, I think she'll eventually get the difference. But she still always goes there and finds her target. Erica, I don't get them in the LA area. I order them through Lane Labs and Reptilinks. Actually, when I order Reptilinks, I check to see if they have frozen thawed whole prey feeders also, because they sometimes have quail and such like that I can add to my order. So I order frozen thawed. Oh, this is a good point. I was going to talk about this. Connor, thanks for bringing this up. I was going to talk about this in the beginning when we were going over the Patreon questions. So Connor's saying, I'm new to reptiles, but I've been researching ball python care for 3 months at this point. I have the option of adopting a 2-year-old female. Should I do that or just get a baby? So the cool thing with adopting is you should always adopt an animal if you can. It's a great thing to do, for one thing. But if it's a 2-year-old female, that might be a snake that is socialized, that's used to being handled a little bit, and then you've got a good-sized snake that is handleable already right off the bat, and you've rescued a snake. The cool thing about getting a hatchling is you get to raise a snake, and that's a completely different experience, watching the snake grow. So it doesn't really matter. It is 2 different experiences. And they both have their pros, and really not many cons. The only con would be if you got if you went and got a rescue that had bad experiences with humans. You don't know what their experience with humans has been in the past, and they're super defensive. But you can figure that out by handling the animal before you get them. In fact, you can go back a couple of days in a row or something and handle that animal and make sure that they're not defensive, and sort of determine what their body language is. So that issue you can mitigate, I think, a little bit. And then the babies, you kind of don't know what you're going to get with a baby, except that babies are really easy to tame down for the most part, and to socialize, even if they're super scared coming out of the egg. And some just are. Some are and some aren't. Okay, now I'm to a point where people are saying hi to Maya, so that was a while ago. Hayes is asking the question that we all are asking. I wonder why they call them black-headed pythons. Nobody knows. Science doesn't know the answer to that one. So good question, though. Okay, we're going to end this very soon, you guys. I want to see if I can get to the bottom of this thing and maybe answer a couple more questions. Oh, wait. KT, thanks for that. Maya not biting me. It's really not a big deal. But black-headed pythons do bite hard. They hang on. It's weird in the wild. They see them attacking animals. Well, first of all, they'll eat carrion in the wild. They don't have to even eat a live thing. They'll find something dead and eat it. But a lot of times they don't wrap. They just attack and kill it with their jaws. So they got strong jaws. But still, Maya at that size would not cause a ton of damage. I guess depending on where she bit me. If she bit me on my knuckle, that might hurt. All right, Echo's doing well. Lisa, I think if we're not talking about a ball python, I don't know Suriname boas well at all, but I doubt that they're as picky as ball pythons, and I'm all about giving snakes a varied diet. I think it's really healthy for them. It is for ball pythons too, but I don't think it's worth the risk in getting a picky eater eating only quail accidentally, or only something that's harder to get. I think it's better to just get ball pythons on rats and give them rats or mice or whatever they'll take. Medina, thanks so much. I'm glad you're liking the channel. I appreciate that. Robert, cold water for a snake, or just room temperature water. Don't not warm, for sure. I run cold water through my filtered pitcher and then pour it into their bowl, and it's cold when it's in their bowl, and it quickly gets to room temperature. This question is hard for me to answer off the top of my head. What's a good weight to start feeding rats of the small adult size? So a small rat it's like a juvenile ball python, but take the weight of the snake and feed it 10 to 15% of their body weight generally. Or I don't even do it at that point when I'm feeding small rats. I'm just eyeballing the rat is going to be about the same size, maybe slightly larger than the thickest part of the snake's body. So that's that. Hi, Helen. That was an easy one to answer. All right, we're almost done here, you guys. Let's see. Yeah, Erica, that's the thing with all other snakes that are not ball pythons. They pretty much just eat immediately. It's the one frustrating thing with ball pythons is that they're hard to... It's hard to know if they're going to eat that rodent on the day that you are ready to feed them or not. All right, you guys, we did it. We went over 2 hours, just over 2 hours, which I think is so long. We will. I'll tell you this. We might end up doing another live stream in just a couple weeks because I'm behind on produced videos. I thought I was going to be ahead, but COVID put me behind. So we'll see what I can get done in the next 2 weeks as far as getting videos produced before I'm on the road again for a few weeks. So we'll see what happens. I don't want to have to skip a week, but we may end up skipping a week. I may do another live stream soon. But I really like the live streams, and I think some of you guys like them also, so I don't mind doing them at all instead of a produced video. So thanks, you guys. I will see you next time. And next week. I don't know what the video is next week, but it's something. See you next time.